Hey guys, Pete here from Kapow, and today we're joined by a very special guest, David Yardin. How are you,
Hi,
man?
how are you?
Good, thank you, dude. Now, David has been a professional comic book artist for 16 years now. Tell me, David, how does one go in about breaking into such a hard job to crack, I guess?
Geez.
Where'd you start?
Well, the way I got in was actually, it's quite a long story. I don't know if we've got time to cover it all. I'll try and give a condensed version. But basically, I trained under Will Spataccio. He's an
Yep.
American artist, obviously, who's fairly popular, with Image and the X-Men and all the stuff he was doing at Marvel. I actually trained under him in the Philippines for 2.5 months, and I ended up getting work through his company, which was Avalon Studios at Image Comics. Yeah, way back in 2000. So
Feels like a long
that's
time ago.
that's kind of the short answer. But yeah, I basically took my portfolio overseas. I was wanting to go to the States and get work.
Yeah.
I ended up taking a detour to the Philippines because a friend of mine who's actually Filipino had told me about a school and a studio that Wills had set up there. So basically, I tried my luck going by the Philippines. But yeah, it was a couple of trips, and then eventually I ended up at Wils's, and that was my entryway into the comic book medium as
Very
a
nice.
professional.
Lucky you went to the Philippines
Yes.
after all that, man. And so, what happened after that? Like, was it just flat out work once you got in the door, or?
Pretty much. I was at Image for quite a while. I took a bit of time off because basically I just got married and
Yep.
had a kid at the time, and so working for yourself, we wanted to get a house and everything, and so basically I took a full-time job to just get the loan, and then I went back to comics. So I did that for a year, but I've pretty much been full-time doing comics since then.
Very nice, man. And tell me, what are some of your favorite titles that you have been able to work on over your long career?
Jeez, probably my most favorite is X Factor. My 4.5 year cover run on that, mainly because I got to do whatever I wanted to do, experimenting, and I got to colour for the first time. It was very, very much like I said, when I spent time at Wilson's, I had such a leap forward with my creative skills. And probably on X Factor, that gave me the opportunity to sort of have another, not as big as of a leap, obviously, because I was working at the time, and busy on deadlines. There's only so much you can learn on the job.
Yeah.
But that again gave me, as I said, that allowed me to experiment and do a lot of things, so that I felt that I had more artistic abilities that I could bring to the job after that gig. So that was a big one that I really liked. But I've had a lot along the way. District X at Marvel was my first gig there. Even Aria when I started at Image, that being my first gig, and learning the ropes.
Yeah.
Under a deadline and all of that sort of thing. And even all the way up to Injustice. Lately, all the X-Men books and things that I've worked on. There's been things that I've liked about each job. There hasn't really been any bad jobs that I've had.
Born in Australia, your parents Mauritian, and you grew up reading French comic books, I believe.
Yeah, well, my parents, well, they spoke English, French, and Creole, but
Yep.
obviously growing up in Mauritius, it was more French-based stuff that they were exposed to. So Asterix, Tintin, Lucky Luke, all of that sort of stuff was the stuff I grew up reading, comics-wise. The American superhero stuff. It's mainly only TV shows, the old Kirby cartoons,
Yep.
Super Friends, that kind of thing, and the live action stuff too. Wonder Woman, the Hulk, all of that sort of stuff. I was exposed to, but my first American comic I got was actually Ninja Turtles. So
Oh, nice.
basically, when I was younger, though, it was pretty much all Asterix and Tintin. That were my main two that I was sort of into.
And was it while you were reading Asterix and Tintin, was that at that age were you like, I'm going to grow up and I'm going to draw comic books?
Not so much. I actually wanted to be an animator.
Oh,
'Cause
nice, yeah.
I was really into animation, especially a lot of the Japanese stuff. Japanimation, as they used to call it back then. It's anime now. Battle of the Planets was my first art teacher. I used to sit in front of our little black and white TV and copy that. By the time Ninja Turtles came on, and Robotech and all that sort of stuff, we had a VCR and I wore that
Nice.
pause button out.
Sit there and copy down those blurry
Yeah,
still frames.
yes.
Speaking of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you and John Sommariva shared a studio together. What was it like working with John?
Yeah, my buddy John. Yeah, well, we actually had a couple of people in with us at the studio. So me and John basically formed the studio together. The point of the studio was, well, one, having a creative environment to work in. You know, if there's any questions you have as an artist, you can quickly, you know, hey John, look at this, you know, what can I do here? Or Daniel Picciotto was the other guy who had us, and Lauren Marshall was another guy who joined us from Perth later on. Like me and John probably been in the longest in the industry, and Daniel and Lauren were kind of getting in, so they're at different levels. But we were learning off everybody in the studio. You know, they would have feedback as well for us.
Yeah.
Me and John about what we were doing, and the other thing is, you know, we're slightly competitive.
You and John in particular?
But not just me and John, just comic artists in general.
Yeah.
You know, if you see a kick-ass image that somebody's doing, you know, you kind of like, I got to try and do better than that. You know,
that guy.
You got to up your game and stay relevant in the industry, and you know, it kind of pushes you further. If you're seeing somebody else do awesome artwork over there, you want to do something as good or better. You know.
Yeah.
And you know, the other thing is just industry talk, you know, talking business with him. Like for 14 years I was basically working by myself at home, and it's a very solitary profession, so you're not talking to anyone, and you know, having to do business deals when, especially when we're on this side of the world, and you don't really know that much about the industry, you know, it takes a lot longer to find out things, you know, whereas if you got somebody there, you can, hey, does this sound right, you know, oh, this person told me this, or I heard this from somebody else, you know, and they can verify stuff like that. But yeah, the main thing about it was having a creative environment and a place where we could just go and concentrate on our art. And we decked it out with all these comic posters. We had like a Batman mask on the door. We didn't end up having a name for the studio, but we ended up calling it the Bat Cave. It was affectionately known as that, but yeah, it didn't really have an official name, our studio, so it was just a really cool place where we could hang out. You know, the comic shop was down the road, the art store was down the road, and we were right on Church Street, so there was lots of food options down the road as well. So it's cool to hang out afterwards as well, you know, after we've done our work.
One more question though, if it was the Bat Cave, were you Batman or Alfred?
I'm not sure who was. I think we all like to think we were Batman, except maybe Lauren, but